Good afternoon, Sir Miguel Mansueto. Good afternoon, classmates. So in this video, we're going to take a look at a case of Danilo versus Vicente Soto Memorial Hospital on basis of morality. So let's first have an overview of the case. Danilo is a patient in Vsmh and is filing a lawsuit seeking for a total of 6 million in compensation for the damages done to him by the medical staff of Vsmh for posting a live footage of his rectal surgery on social media without his consent. But these are the very same people who also saved his life during a fatal accident on January 2008. And the question is, does Danilo have a moral basis? So let's first have my personal judgment. So if you were to ask me whether Danilo does have a moral basis, I will personally definitely say yes, because his right to privacy was being breached, and that he was humiliated in a platform where millions of people can access to. Also, the very act of doctors in the hospital or during the surgery is very unethical for laughing at him. And so I think 6 million is not enough as a compensation. However, let's first set aside our law and our grudges. Let's talk about some moral theories that could explain whether Danilo's action is moral or not. Let's discuss the Filipino culture. So we have this a norm called utang na loob, that we owe something to those people who did something good to us before. So for Danilo, this is a challenge, a moral valuation challenge for him, because in the very first place, these are the very same staff who also treated him during an accident in 2008. So I think this is a challenge for Danilo, whether he has some moral basis. However, let's move on to some theories like utilitarianism by John Stuart Mill and Jeremy Bentham to further discuss our issue. So, according to Mill, based on utilitarianism, all action is dependent on what could happen or what is the end, the consequences of such action. What is moral, therefore, for them again, is whether that action could bring more pleasure versus pain. Because this is a totality of pleasure versus pain theory. So, in this sense, this is what we call as the greatest good for the greatest number. According to Mill, all action is for the sake of some end. Though Mill is paradoxically also a libertarianism, in this quote he said that all action is for the sake of some end. So they're concerned about what could be the end of such action. Utilitarianism mainly focuses on what we call as series of questions. We can denote this as what ifs. What if those doctors will be dismissed? Okay, what could happen to their children? What if they were stripped off with their what we call as licenses? What will be their job in the near future, seeing that they will be unemployed, right? And also, what if the hospital itself will pay what we call a 6 million of what Danilo is trying to get? Could this affect the number of patients that the hospital can accommodate to? Because this is, again, Vicente Soto Memorial Hospital is a government-funded hospital. So those are series of what-ifs by the utilitarians that they are concerned of. So they're particularly after to the consequences of an action, whether it will bring more happiness or more pain. Now, so they're employing what we call as a cost-benefit analysis. So basically, they're weighing the consequences and the benefits of an action. However, many people agree with utilitarians. But I think in some circumstances, this cannot be the case. One example could be Christians in Rome, where Romans consented, the majority consented that the Christians will be thrown into lions and thrown into gladiator contest because the majority consented it and they're happy with it. So this is, I think, one of the dilemmas that the utilitarians are facing. Do you think the Romans acted morally in killing the Christians? I think no. Let's move then on to an equally important theory, and that is of libertarianism by Robert Nozick. According to them, individuals have rights, and there are no things a person or group may do them as long as that person does not violate somebody or does not harm somebody. For libertarians, respecting individual rights is the key. The right to what we call as privacy. In the case of Danilo, because his right to privacy is being breached by the medical staff of Vicente Soto, essentially, Danilo does have a right. It is inevitable that the staff of Vicente Soto Medical Hospital, okay, did not ask again for the consent of Danilo. Without asking the consent of a person, this is deemed by the libertarians as immoral. In the sense then that they did not ask his consent, has the right. Okay, he has the right to sue the VSMH staff. However, libertarians face some dilemmas. Okay, for example, with respect to individual rights, what if a certain terrorist is known, he will be tortured, so he will be forced to reveal some information about a bombing plot. So in this sense, this is their dilemma because for example, if you're going to extract vital information from a terrorist, then it can save thousands of lives. There are pros and cons of these two theories. Let's give synthesis from our given perspectives on the basis of morality in the case of VSMH and Danilo. Although those two, what we call as moral theories, have what we call as advantages and disadvantages. So I think at some circumstances, it is vital or is important to use a utilitarian view. However, like John Stuart Mill, in his paradoxical ideas that while collective preferences is important, giving respect to individual rights and dignity of human life is vital for what we call as a just society. So I think let's end this quote by Kant. He said that what you ought that men do to you, do you also do the same. This is the whole point of morality. So thank you so much, Sir Miguel Mansueto. Thank you, classmates, and God bless us all.